Hello. So today what I'd like to do is share with you one of the tools that I've learned in contemplative dialogue, and it's referred to as the life frame. Essentially, there are many different ways that people come to a project or come to a team, maybe come to a meeting. They typically, individuals will find themselves defaulting into one of the areas of the life frame. And the more aware we are of the different areas of the life frame, the different vantage points, the easier it will be for us to get a fuller picture of what's going on at a meeting or perhaps even in your own family life. So let me show you the diagram first, and then I'll explain each component. So as I mentioned, there are four different pieces to the life frame, four different lenses, if you prefer to use that term. So let me show you what they are. The first one is the interpersonal arena. Another vantage point is the individual arena. Another vantage point is structural, and the last one is the environmental arena. You don't have to memorize those or anything. I'll explain each one of those in detail. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the individual arena. People that approach life or approach certain situations might do it from an individual perspective. These are the people that if you're, for example, trying to figure out at a meeting what kind of an event to have, and somebody suggests doing a crab feed. A person that operates from the individual life frame arena will be really concerned with things like whether or not they like crab, whether they've been to a crab feed before and what their experience was like. And they would be very concerned that their preferences are taken care of. This isn't intended to be a selfish perspective, and you may want to think that these people are selfish, but their orientation toward a project like this would be making sure that, well, not making sure, they are seeing things from the individual arena. Again, they'd be interested in how does this affect me, and what is my own experience with this type of an event, and will my needs get met? And they're very aware of maybe how they felt in the environment. They might be very sensitive to their bodies, how their body reacts to crab or too much pasta at an event like this, whether or not it's nutritionally balanced, that if we have crab and pasta, are we going to have salad because they need to increase their own personal fiber intake. Again, that's the individual arena. And it's not intended to be selfish. It's not self-serving. These people will first make sure. That's not saying they only operate from this arena, but their default would be to make sure that their own personal needs and their awareness of themselves and their body is very primary in their lives. So that's the individual life frame arena. It's one of four lenses or approaches somebody might take to a conversation. Other people are very interested in another frame, the interpersonal arena. So again, let's assume we're trying to get together and plan a crab feed. The interpersonal, a person with the interpersonal focus is going to be concerned with things like, can people buy groups of 10 or groups of 8 seating, because it's real important at an event like that that they have an opportunity to talk with other people. And oh, wait, you're planning this in February? Well, how close to Valentine's Day are you planning that? Because people are very careful with their calendars around Valentine's Day. They may want to have a private date and not a group event. Oh, you're planning it on February 5th? Well, are you aware that that's the pastor's birthday, and he often goes away during that time, so maybe you don't, if you want him to be there, you're going to want to make sure that you don't plan it when he can't be there. This person would be very aware on a staff or on a team of birthdays, of significant milestones in people's lives. They're the ones who are going to remember to buy the cake or send the card when it comes time for a special event. They will be very concerned at an event to make sure that everyone is greeted. So if they're on a committee, they're going to make sure that somebody is there to welcome them, welcome the guests, and make them feel very comfortable. They might also believe that name tags are important because if you don't have name tags at an event, then it would inhibit people from getting to know one another. So I've told you about two of the arenas, and sometimes we might think that that's really the only two factors at play. People are either concerned about themselves or they're concerned about other people, but that's not true. There are other people that might be very concerned and focusing a great deal on the structural life frame arena. People that default into this mode are very aware of roles in an organization. That's their default. This can happen, especially, my home is working in a church environment. And people are always either reminded of their roles or are reminding others of their role in a parish community. So, for example, for something like a crab feed, people that operate out of the structural arena are going to make sure that everyone has their job assignment on the committee. Do we have somebody taking care of calling the restaurant? Do we have somebody who is the publicity chairperson? Do we have somebody that can do the cooking in the kitchen? Do we have a kitchen person? Do we have a ticket person who's purchasing the tickets, selling the tickets? Do we have a treasurer to handle all the money? They're going to be very concerned with what is everyone's role on this committee and they're very aware of what their own role is. And they will advocate typically for their role to make sure that it's not ignored. They often, because it's not completely, that if they're too focused on that, that might morph over into the individual arena. But if they're operating specifically out of their role, then they're real concerned about the structural arena. They might also say, what is the pastor going to do at this event? Are we going to have him do the prayer? Because as the leader of the congregation, perhaps he should say grace. They'll make sure that the musicians are paid because that's somebody's job to make sure that the musicians get paid or that they get fed. Who's going to open up the building to make sure that it's ready for the crab to arrive? Who's going to make sure the floors are clean afterwards? So these are some of the things that people, in my example of planning a crab feed, if they are focused more on the structural arena, those are the kinds of questions that they're going to be asking. There's one more life frame. It's a little bit broader. It's very broad, and so my examples might be a little bit weak in this area. But other people might operate out of an environmental arena. These are the people that have, we like to say big picture, but big picture people are often operating out of the structural arena. They're just aware of everybody's roles. But environmental arena would be, people might be asking, where is the crab? Where is the seafood coming from? Has it been farmed appropriately? They would be very aware of the social justice issues in relationship to this. They may be wondering about, should we use paper or plastic? Or should we hand wash dishes because of the effect on the environment? These people might be very interested in making sure that we're getting our seafood from a sustainable source. I believe I mentioned that. So people that operate out of the environmental arena aren't necessarily environmentalists, but they are aware of the implications of an event or an individual's actions on the greater global community. They might be wondering about in this kind of an example of the crab feed, they might be concerned about the cost. And if we charge $40 to $45 a person, who's not being invited, who's not going to be able to come, and should we reserve some tickets for the less fortunate? Or they might say the proceeds from this event need to go, or a portion of them need to be tithed and go toward feeding the hungry. So as you can tell, there are 4 different arenas from which a person could be operating. Now it's not clean cut. The lines, as a matter of fact, on this diagram, if you can see that, they're dotted lines between all of these arenas, and that's because there's often overlap. At a part of the meeting, I might be very focused on the fact that I hate crab. And so I'm at a meeting planning for something that I won't even enjoy. Okay, that's not true, by the way. I love crab. But it's possible that I would first say that and operate from the individual arena, and then I would move immediately over, or some of my comments might have more to do with my role on the committee, and I would morph over into the structural arena. So once again, just a quick recap: 4 arenas to the life frame: the individual, the interpersonal, the structural, and the environmental. I hope that's been helpful to you. Let me just make some final comments about this. Overall, using the life frame and being aware of it is more than just a personal exercise to say, hey, I default to the structural all the time. Or, you know what, it looks like I'm always worried about the interpersonal things. It isn't intended to box you. It isn't intended for your own personal use. It's actually most useful when we use this tool in looking at an entire team or an entire project. And often we will surround ourselves with people that are of like mind. So if you operate mostly out of the structural arena, you might have people on your committee, most of them, that operate out of the structural arena. If you want to be the most effective, what you want to do is find people that operate from the different arenas and make sure that their voices are heard and that they are valued in the group. So, and you may, if you're not aware that people operate from these different life frame arenas, you could easily forget something very important. If, for example, you are stuck in the individual arena, you may not realize that everybody has a role to play on this committee and that it's important that they be heard. So hopefully that's been helpful to you as a way of moving forward and growing in your awareness of how an organization can better operate, honoring once again the sacred worth of each human being. Thank you.